Hello, I'm Barry and you're watching the New Dig Norfolk Gardener channel. Towards the end of October, beginning of November, I always look to give the greenhouse a good clean. Good greenhouse hygiene is really important, not least to cut down on any diseases that may be harbouring inside. So the first job for us to do is to take the remaining harvests and clear the plants from the ground. So we've cleared the greenhouse, and with us being no dig, of course, we don't dig the plants out, we twist them out and leave quite a few of the roots in the ground actually to rot down and help feed the soil for next year's plants. You can see in the camera shot now, when we filmed last week, you saw me sowing the broad beans. You can see they're on their way through now. Don't take long at this time of the year. So all I'm doing now is just roughly levelling the ground, because it's going to be receiving its compost feed for next year's growing season when we've finished. So what I'm going to do next, you can see that the greenhouse actually gets quite dirty over the year with everything that's thrown at it, and what you do want from your glass house is maximum light penetration. So every year we clean the greenhouse, and that's what we're now going to do now. That's the next job to do now that it's clear. So yeah, we'll crack on with that. Good idea to get as much of the moss off as you can, and as you can see I'm using an old cane here just to try and get in and get as much of it off as I can. So to clean your greenhouse, really all you need is some soapy water with a bit of mild detergent in it, a good long handled broom, and, as my lady would tell me, a bit of elbow grease. I always tend to start with the inside first because it tends to take the longest to dry. And I want to get back in here to finish the job, and I'll be drying nicely while I'm doing the outside. So we've cleaned the greenhouse inside and out, and boy, the sun is really shining through here now. It does make such a difference. It allows a lot more light to come into the greenhouse, and unlike us, if you're actually using the greenhouse over winter to grow produce, it's a really good idea to do that before you start to plant everything out for the winter. We don't actually use the greenhouse for anything in the winter, but it's good to have it all cleared, because in the early part of the year, when we're sowing things like our onion seeds and cabbages and cauliflowers for the summer months, we use this space to keep the young seedlings in. Although we do have the small polytunnel, it's just a little bit warmer in here, even though it's a cold greenhouse. We find that the plants do better, and then once we transition into spring, anything we sow after that then goes into the polytunnel, and obviously we plant this out with our tomatoes and everything. So for us, the next thing that we're going to do is to feed our soil. and I shall be spreading a 2 to 3 inch layer of our homemade compost on these greenhouse beds. A little bit more than I put on the outside beds. Main reason being is that there are a lot of plants in here that are planted quite closely, and they're all quite hungry plants. So to ensure that they're well fed all the way through the season, because don't forget, being no dig, we don't use any other fertilisers in here. It's only the compost that we put on the soil to feed our soil that will in turn feed the plants. So there you have it. The greenhouse has been cleaned, washed inside and out. I've also cleaned all of the gutters, because they do get pretty bogged up over the months. So yeah, the water can trickle down to our water butts at the end and fill those to give us water to use on our plants next season. We spread our homemade compost on the ground, so that will feed the soil and all the organisms and worms and things. They'll take that down into the soil to again provide food for next year's plants. So as you can probably see, we've left a couple of our flowers in there. We do like to have flowers dotted in amongst the vegetables we grow in here. Earlier on there was marigolds, so they've come out now because we've cleared the greenhouse. We've left an osteospermum behind. So yeah, that's all finished and done. You can see in front of me here, this was the final harvest we took out of the greenhouse. When you think it's early November, you know, there's still a bit to come out there. Some chilies, some of which have gone red, some of which are in the process of going red, but we'll put them on our windowsill indoors and they will eventually go red. And the last of the tomatoes. So, little bonus there for us. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this short little video on greenhouse maintenance. If you've got any tips or anything that you do differently, please let us know in the comments box below, because you know, none of us ever know everything, and to get some real good tips from other people is always really good. And while you're down there, if you haven't done so already, don't forget to subscribe, because we'd hate you to miss all of the content that we've got planned coming up in the future as we head into 2022. But until the next time, hope you have a great time in your garden, hope you have a wonderful weekend, and we shall see you again soon.